Two of my guests for this Christmas are vegan, who are causing all manner of issues with other things, but I'm particularly into the baked goods today. So I've been trying to work out what kind of biscuit I can make for a vegan. Most sweet biscuits rely on butter and eggs to give the right texture, or just butter to give the right texture if it's something like a shortbread. And I've tried them using the non-butter butters, you know what I mean, those sort of spreads, and they don't have the right flavour. So I'm going to go with something I know I can make a change to, and that's a biscotti. Really, it's a simple recipe. I've done it before as a gift in a jar, I think last Christmas. So I'm using the same recipe here, and I'll put it up on the screen about now. And you can also find that on the blog. So in here I've got my flour, sugar, baking powder and a decent amount of mixed spice. So I'm just going to stir these together. My sugar's a bit clumpy, so I'm going to... So essentially, the recipe for biscotti is the same, except you are replacing the one dairy ingredient, which is 1 egg in biscotti. So how the hell does one do that? A lot of recipes have you using mayonnaise or banana, but something like that is not going to work for this, obviously. So what does work? Chickpeas. And not the chickpeas themselves, but what's called aquafava, which is essentially the water they're boiled in. And in this case it's slightly salted, and that's going to cause some issues with the flavouring, but we'll see later on. So I prefer a can with a ring pull, but I didn't get one of those. Now, I cannot stand hummus, I cannot stand chickpeas, but my mum really likes them, so this will be her snack for school. So this is aquafaba. Ooh, and there's quite a bit in this tin. More on this tin than there was in the previous one. So depending on the brand that you're using, you could get only a couple of teaspoons or half a ton. So, right, pretty much ready. I don't mind there being a little bit of extra liquid going into the blender. That will help them come down a bit. So, I'll come to the hummus later and just have a chat about the aquafaba. Now this is a really high protein liquid because it's leached out of the pulses here. It's also salted. I can't find any brands that don't salt their chickpeas, so you have to deal with that in the recipe. So what I've done in the recipe, I've added an extra tablespoon of sugar, and I'll be dipping or covering these in some vegan chocolate when they're done. So that kind of negates the kind of savouriness you get from the salt. So you can use aquafaba for pretty much any egg replacement where you need the protein. So things like egg whites, you can use 3 tablespoons of this in place of 1 egg white, or 4 in place of a whole egg. So I'm not sure how that works in terms of other cookery. I've seen it done with meringue. So, and in here it is a binder essentially. So I'm doing a double recipe, but I'm going to start 2, 3 with the equivalent of 1 egg yolk at this point, because I've done a couple of practice runs with this, and it really does change. You can either have a super sticky sloppy mix or a really quite firm one. So it's a case of going by feel, I think, really, rather than anything else. So that's 5. So I'm just adding in small increments until I get a dough that comes together. Now normally with this recipe it's just add 1 egg, nothing else. And that 1 egg should be enough liquid to get it to come together. It's harder to gauge with this because it's not as sticky as an egg would be, You're just waiting for the flour to absorb and to bind. I think at least another one. There it is. Kind of trial and error and knowing when to stop. So the key when to stop here is when this all comes together and there's no more dry bits in the bowl. Stop yourself before you add any extra. It just needs to be just wet enough. Beware that all the wet bits tend to cling to your spoon, so make sure you stir them back in. So I'm almost there. I think another half maybe. I've got a fair bit of dry stuff at the bottom here. Yeah, another half. Because a couple of recipes I've done previously, I've needed 7 or 8 full teaspoons to get the right texture, and others I've only needed 4. So it's down to the relative humidity of your flour and of the atmosphere. So yeah, that's definitely getting the thickness. As to how much liquid it'll absorb, really. Yeah. So that's pretty much as sticky as I want it, so I'm just going to help that gather up the rest of the bits and pieces out of the bowl. So you want to basically clean the bowl with it. Like that. So that's a pretty good texture actually for this biscotti. Now I'm going to add my dried fruit and nuts. So I've got cranberries, some of my candied orange from last year, and some almonds. I think they're a bit more Christmassy, cranberries and orange, with the spice in here. So you want this dough to be sticky enough that it will absorb all the dried fruit and things, but not so sticky that it flows. You don't want a runny dough. So I'm going to turn this over a couple of times, just to make sure these are all incorporated throughout the mix. So I think we're about there. This stuff freezes, so if you don't use it all in one go, you can just freeze it and use it next time. I'd suggest freezing in an ice cube tray so you've got it portioned out ready. Here I've got lined a tray. A little bit too thick still, so I'm going to add a slug more oil. not too much again, I don't like them greasy. And I've got another half a lemon in the fridge. Excuse me. There you go. This one appears to be full of seeds. If there's seeds on the surface, I'll get rid. I'm not normally that bothered about them. This one is all seeds. Okay. That should be about right. Really smooth, still thick, but not as claggy. So I'm just going to have one last scrape down, maybe a smidge more lemon. I'm going to turn it all the way around. Okay. So that is hummus. It's fairly smooth, it's still got some bits in, but smooth enough to pass muster for Mum's lunch. So that I'm going to stick in the pot, and I'm going to look forward to getting the biscotti out.